Gone but not quite forgotten. Bye-bye e-tolls, but is the nightmare for motorists over? Minister of Transport Sindisiwe Chikunga recently announced that e-tolls would be officially scrapped. But whilst that comes as welcome relief for some road users after a decade-long pushback against the system, the government insists that those with outstanding e-toll debt will still have to cough up. So how will all of this work? We're joined now by Reginald Demana, who's the Chief Executive Officer at SANRAL. A very good morning to you, and thank you for your time.
Good morning, sir, to you and your listeners.
As we said in 2010, feel it. It is here. The end has come, but not quite.
Well, I guess you can say that as far as we are concerned, the end is here. Midnight today, we are switching off. And of course, those who still have current account debt will continue to pay their debt. But there will be no new invoices sent to them post midnight today. Government intends to consult the public and other interested and affected stakeholders on what to do with the historic debt and whether to process refunds or not. Once that consultation has been done and government has considered inputs, a further decision will be made on that. For now, the law is that a debt will continue to be collected until further decision is made.
Someone who's been a thorn at your side for all this time is, of course, Wayne Duvenage and the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. I want you to have a listen to a conversation he had with my colleague John Polman yesterday, essentially saying that even though the government insists that these monies must be paid, it may not be as easy as it sounds. Have a listen.
Well, there is no debt. As far as we're concerned, that's a fallacy. And SANRAL needs to acknowledge that and stop talking about outstanding debt. And the reason we say that is that they've written off all this debt in their books. So it's not in their financials, in statements sent to the motorists. The reality is that they have abandoned the collection process. They had one last straw, and that was to summons the public for non-payment, which they set out to do between 2016 and 19. Thousands of summonses were sent out. We launched the e-defense mechanism and said to the public, we'll defend them, which we did. And they tell us at the media conference there that, they're contemplating and discussing and deliberating on how they're going to get this money. Well, it isn't there to be got. There's nothing they can do. They can't enforce. They can't withhold licenses. They cannot blacklist you. They cannot do anything other than trying to summons. And they cannot summons if the debt is prescribed, which it largely has.
What's your response to that? Wayne Duvenage says, if you haven't been able to do it all along, how are you going to do it now?
Well, Bongani, we are not claiming that it will suddenly become easier or it will remain difficult. All we are saying is that legally, we have no authority to wipe people's debt off the books. We will continue to send invoices for historic debt. We will continue to rely on those who want to pay. We are not prosecuting people since 2019. That decision stands. And we will wait for policy decision to be made on what happens next. So we are not going to suddenly change anything, except that we will not be issuing any invoices post midnight tonight.
Well, I understand you can't change the law. Isn't it a bit of a fool's errand in a way, and to some degree perhaps even wasteful expenditure? You're sending all these invoices. You have no way of enforcing their payment. It just feels like a tick box exercise when, in fact, this has been a victory for the public and the civil society organizations that opposed this from the onset.
Well, I guess we are all celebrating the end of it all tonight. We won't be sending any further invoices in that regard. So no wasteful expenditure will be incurred going forward.
But if you're trying to if you're still trying to recoup monies you know won't be paid, what's the point?
Well, the law is what it is. You and I can't just change it like that. Until further policy decision is made, we will just continue to watch the space.
All right, fair enough. The gantries fall silent tonight. Will they serve any further purpose?
Yes, most definitely. There's a lot of technology and cameras. We are able to get information such as plate numbers, read them, so we can monitor stolen vehicles, hijacked vehicles. We can monitor traffic. We can dispatch emergency services. In addition, going forward, we want to look at speed prosecution using average speed of a distance, because the cameras are spaced in between gantries. We might be able to implement more of that. And of course, commercially, insurance companies and many others have expressed interest in accessing the data for various purposes that they may want to use. The likes of Gauteng province would like to have access to the cameras as part of crime prevention, as well as crime monitoring in the various corridors that we operate. So there's a lot of work that the countries can do going forward, and we intend to maintain them like that.
Focusing on Gauteng for a moment, the road network there desperately needs repair in parts. I've been lamenting, for example, on this show for some time now, the state of the R21, for example. Where will the money to do that repair work come from now?
Yes, I'm sure you would have potentially heard, if you have not driven through the R21 in the last 2-3 weeks. Construction work has started there. We are doing that part of the work. National Treasury provided funding, so that's already underway. For the rest of the network in Gauteng, we have also agreed with Gauteng government. They will contribute 4.1 billion rand over 4 years to resurface some of the surfaces that are also due for maintenance, and the rest of the money going forward for the maintenance of the network, because it is now non-toll portfolio, will come from the grants we receive from National Treasury.
Let's go back to the money for a second. How much is SANRAL owed as a result of all of this, and what assurances have you been given about where it will come from now? Yes,
the total outstanding debt from the bond investors that put money into this is estimated at 43 billion. And of course, 70% of that will be covered by National Treasury. 30% will come from the Gauteng province. The Gauteng province and National Treasury have entered into a memorandum of agreement in order to fund that. National Treasury, in addition, has given us a commitment that they will cover 100% of the SANRAL debt. So between them and Gauteng, they have a mechanism that they will contribute. For SANRAL, National Treasury has underwritten all of that debt for us.
What should people do with their e-tags?
E-tags continue to be very useful across the country. They are interoperable across all the toll roads, including those run by concessions. So if you travel outside of Gauteng, you can use them to pass through other toll gates. So it's an interoperable tag that will continue to be used. In addition, there will be other services. You can use your tag at some shopping malls for parking. You are able to use that. And we intend rolling out more services for that. South Africa is probably one of only 3 countries in the world where one tag is used in the entire country for tolls. So very advanced technology that we intend using, and we encourage people to buy this tag so that they can pass through the toll gate smoothly.
Do you foresee any scenario in which people who have paid their e-tolls might be compensated for that money?
And that, together with whether debt will continue to be collected, is part of the decision that must be made. Are there refunds or no refunds? Is debt to be collected or not to be collected? That's part of what must be decided by national government and then communicated accordingly in due course.
Reginald Demana is the Chief Executive Officer at SANRAL. I thank you for your time. If you're somebody who's been paying your e-tolls, how do you feel about that? And if you do have a bill, do you know how much you owe? Will you be paying? Let us know.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.